Greetings, life management students, and happy chapter number 13. We're nearing the end of our learning information for this session. So let's talk about your academic and career planning. This is all important. I assume most of you are taking this class to improve your chances of finding a good career and learn some skills, of course, to get you through life management. Okay, so looking at some interests and values and skills. So one of the things that I always encourage students to do is to take a kind of a test, if you will, an assessment to tell you what you're good at. Because we want our job choice, our career choice to match what we're good at and what makes us happy, right? And so taking an online test to match up, some of your interests. And the questions are really fun. The questions are like, if you had to spend 8 hours a day at your job, would you prefer to do it indoors or would you prefer to do it outdoors? Right? That's kind of giving information into your personality and into the type of jobs that you enjoy. And so you just truthfully answer the questions. And at the end of the kind of exploring your interest survey, it will tell you these are the jobs or the types of job that we recommend for you because they match your interest and your values, right? I myself really value social justice and I value the society as a whole, and I value green earth. So I'm passionate about the environment. Therefore, I really don't want to work for a corporation that may be a corporation very interested in profits and polluting the environment and the earth, right? That wouldn't match my value system. And so you want to make sure that the company you work for matches you. So taking an internet or an interest survey. If you read your book, one of the ones that your book really recommends is called Own It. It does have a lot of fabulous information. It's free. You can just go online and I just type in Own It and you'll find their website, and your book has some pages and examples of what it looks like to search for jobs and information. I will be sharing with you another activity that we do in this class with a different kind of a skills assessment, learning what you're good at and what makes you happy and matching that to a career. That's important. Right, so understanding Holland's interest type. Holland really says that we all fall into these different categories. We all have these different interests, and along with these interests comes certain jobs that align or match the interests better than others, right? So if we are someone who's realistic, it really means we enjoy working with our hands, working outside in the environment, using tools, installing and repairing things, and working with animals. So we are realistic. We're not those creative thinkers who are out there, coming up with all these solutions. We're not people who like to be at a computer all day long, right? We're realistic. If we're investigative, that means we really like problem solving. Think of a detective or an investigator, right? They solve a problem or a case. And that's what we are when we really like to figure out. So jobs here are going to be when we're looking to find solutions to the problems that we have. Artistic, people who are creative, intuitive, sensitive, expressive. I am probably not many of those things because I'm just not very creative and artistic. I don't have those natural gifts and abilities, but for those of you who are interested in that, you're looking at careers that are more along the lines of drama, of theater, of, again, being, in sensitive areas. And so you're not looking, again, for a job where you had to maybe do accounting, because accounting really wouldn't match your artistic abilities. Social. So if we're social, we enjoy helping people. We enjoy things like coaching, teaching, counseling. If you're in the healthcare field, people who are social really enjoy things like occupational therapy. Right? I think, I work in the healthcare field, so I think it's always amazing and interesting to me to notice that there are some doctors and nurses, there are some healthcare professionals that are very good at their job as far as knowing the information, diagnosing illness, all of that. But they are not very good with people skills, right? They come off very kind of rude sometimes, very abrupt. They don't really listen to patients maybe all the time. And so their people skills are lacking. They're not very social. People who are occupational therapists, and what that job means is that you are trying to teach patients who have had some trauma how to regain skills. So for instance, occupational therapists often work with stroke patients, patients who have had a stroke, patients who have been in car accidents. Both of those types of patients are usually injured. Their brain is injured in some way that they lose their ability. Sometimes they lose the ability to speak. Sometimes they lose the ability to dress themselves. Like their brain forgets those skills. How to feed yourself again, how to dress yourself again. And it's usually after one of those two instances, either some type of trauma, some accident where your head was injured. And so occupational therapists, their job is kind of cool. When I used to work in a long-term care nursing facility as an administrator, and one of my staff was an occupational therapist. And it was really fun to go watch her work, because her area that she worked in, it was like a mini kitchen and then like a bedroom. And so what she would do is she would take patients into the kitchen and she would literally help them learn how to use the spoon again and how to feed themselves again, how to cook. For other patients, she would teach them, how to get dressed, sometimes they would lose the use of their arm. And so they would have to use devices that would get like a sock, and you put the sock on the end of the device, and then you would put your foot onto the device, and it would put the sock on the foot. And so she would teach them, and I always found it so rewarding that you would be able to help patients that have suffered to regain these skills. But that's what a social person does. They want to work with people. You would not want that job if you didn't like people. Enterprising. So these are someone who really want to be managers, right? These are our leaders. These are people who want to influence, lead, and manage others. And then conventional means that we really like it when you tell me I have a structure. So I start my job at 8, I have a break at 10:30 from 10:30 to 10:45, I have lunch at noon. I like structure, and I like knowing this is the job I have and this is what I do. I really don't have to think outside the box much. Maybe I don't have to always work with people. I like structure, right? So these are, again, we all think of where you fit in, right? I'm definitely a social person. I like people in general. I'm investigative. I really love finding solutions to problems. One of my kind of goals, I would say, as a teacher and instructor, is to always find ways of engaging students more. How do you connect them to the learning material, right? All right, so again, continuing on, exploring your values. We talked about values earlier on in our time together, and we said that values are really things that we consider important. Do you value family? Do you value work? What do you value? Do you value your freedom, your independence? Are these important to you? And those things are just kind of what make up us as a person, the things that we value. Right? So explore our values. Do we value achievement? Is that important to us, to have accolades or to have people say good things about us? Recognition is a big one. So, do we like it when people say, oh, you're the best boss I've ever had? Right? So if you value recognition, it really means that you value directing other people. Because I've said before that when I was a manager and when I had a staff, that I really enjoyed helping people to be the best they can be. Because when you help your employees to do their job, their best, they don't really see it as work as much. And you don't have to micromanage them really. And so when you value recognition, you really like directing other people, showing them how to do their job. Relationships. Do we value relationships, right? Some people are more loners. Some people really don't value relationships. It's not that they're not in a relationship, they may be, but their career is very important to them, right? Support. Do we value support? Do we want to give support or have support from others, right? Is that important? Or are we more of again, doing it on our own kind of person? Working conditions. So again, what kind of environment do you want to work in? Do you really value that? Or are you the kind that says, as long as I'm doing something I enjoy, I don't care if I have to work in a warehouse. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. Understand your work values can help you, definitely. So help determine, knowing what you value will help determine your vocational identity. What is your vocational identity? It really kind of means your career. It's understanding your career goals, your interest, and your strengths. Right? So if one of your career goals is to be the president of the United States, but you hate politics, it's not going to happen, right? Because you have to align. Those things have to be the same. You have to pick a career choice that has something that interests you. Identifying careers that you might find satisfying. This is what we're all here to do. Figure out what we want to do. And then make trade-offs. Maybe you really want to be a cook, or you really want to be a certain job, but it doesn't pay the greatest. Maybe you're making a trade-off with your salary because it's really exciting for you, and then you have to come up with some side jobs or something else to do. All right, continuing on, exploring our skills. So when you understand what your skills at, that is so going to be able to help you find a job. What are you good at? And sometimes we're not good people at seeing these things. We need other people to kind of say to us, you're very good at this. Your listening is a skill. So if you say, you're a good listener, you know that, and you've never really thought about that, oh really? That's just, I never really thought about that. Maybe you'd be a good therapist or counselor because you're good at listening. So be specific. So skills may be very specific. So in other words, for certain jobs, you need to have certain skills. And if don't have that, you're not interested in that, it's not going to work for you. And then there's transferable skills, right? So it's really interesting. Most of the employers in our area in California, they say that when they look to hire people, they are more interested in soft skills than they are actual content skills. Let me explain the difference. So let's say, for example, I am hiring a software engineer. And so I meet this person, I'm in an interview and I'm hiring them, and I come to learn that, wow, they have experience with all of the different software that we use in my company. So they have experience, so I'm pretty interested. However, when I start to ask them some questions like, what do you do in a particular situation where a fellow coworker is spreading rumors about you? Or a fellow coworker takes credit for something, an idea that was yours, right? And their answers are not what I like because they don't have people skills. Soft skills are what we think of as people skills. In other words, employers want to know, are you going to get along with everyone? They care more about the fact that you're a team player, you want to get along with people, that you're maybe innovative, you think outside the box, maybe you can offer some things. They care more about that than the fact that you know all the software, because they can teach you the software. I'm a big believer in this. When I hire people, I'm definitely more interested in the values and characteristics and qualities and skills you have now. I can teach you what I want you to know for the job, but I want to know you're going to fit in. And so that's really, really important. That's what we call transferable skills. Because if you have good people skills, you're going to have that wherever you go. You're going to be able to sell yourself as a good team player. All right, so keep that in mind, that those are really, really important to stress in your interviews. Right, so spotlight on research. So hope and engagement promote academic success and career development. So what we mean is that being hopeful, having a optimistic attitude, positive, really promotes this positive academic and career outcome. So being hopeful. When we come in with pessimistic attitudes, meaning the glass is always half empty, meaning I'm here at college, but I don't think I'm going to pass this class, and everything is kind of a moan and groan, and it's kind of negative, that's not helping you. But to be hopeful that I really don't understand the material right now, but you know what, my professor seems like I can go talk to them, and I'm starting to talk to some classmates. I think I'm going to get into a study group. I'm hopeful that I'm going to learn the material, even though it doesn't make any sense to me right now. That's hopeful. That's good. All right, developing an academic plan, just like we had our goals and we have our plans in there for our education and career, right? So this is a tool used by students and their advisors to kind of track your progress. So the students that I work with at Delta College have usually always been to see an academic counselor. And that counselor will usually print them out a paper, and that paper is their academic plan. it really says to them that like this semester you will take these classes. Next semester you will take these classes. And then by this time you will have this certificate or this degree. It's a plan that you hope the student will follow. Right? So your academic plan, it takes into account, again, your school's requirements. In other words, different schools have different requirements. It should definitely reflect your goals. In other words, your academic counselor shouldn't say to you, well, you know what's really hot right now? Jobs and technology is the way to go. And you're thinking, yeah, I'm not good at computers. I don't really like computers, right? That's not for you. You need to make sure that your goals, you need to go in telling your academic advisor, these are my goals. I always tell students to say, I think, because I have a lot of nursing students, again, they think they want to be a nurse. When we start talking about some of the things you deal with in nursing, they realize, I don't really want to be a nurse, right? So think of your goals, right? And then it's unique to you. Your academic plan is unique to you, right? So again, when we think about academic planning, the first thing you want to think about is coming in with what are my goals? And so therefore, knowing my goals, I'm going to choose a degree or certificate. What do I want to do? Do I want to get a certificate in something? Do I want to get a 2-year degree or transfer to a college and get a 4-year degree? What do I want to do? Where can I get support for what I want to do? How do I choose my classes? That's what your academic advisor should help you do. And then of course, choosing a major. So these are things that you will talk to someone. You really don't want to go in by yourself and just kind of wing it. Talk to someone, that's their job. We have academic advisors at all colleges to help guide you. Right, so choosing a degree or certificate, all colleges are different, so you need to look at the college you're interested in to determine what type of certificates they have. Here at Delta College, we have many. You can get a trade, meaning you can become a mechanic. You can, if you want to get certified in air conditioning, if you want to get into horticulture or dealing with plants, we have a lot of different gardeners that get certificates in horticulture. There's certificates in how to counsel drug and alcohol victims or people that are struggling with those dependencies. There's all kinds of certificates. So you look at your college and you go under certificates and look at what type. And then we have what we call an AA degree, and it's just an Associate of Arts or Associate of Science degree. It's a 2-year degree, 2-year degree. Then we go on to what we call a bachelor's degree. A bachelor's degree is a 4-year degree. So if you wanted to go to a community college to get your AA 2 years, and then you would transfer to a 4-year school to get a bachelor's degree. That's what I did. But I actually didn't get an Associate of Arts degree because I didn't need to. All I did was take my general classes I needed to get out of the way. I took those classes and then I transferred to a school that had a bachelor's program. A master's degree goes beyond bachelor's, and a master's program can be anywhere from 1 year to 2 years. And this is, again, at a 4-year college. They offer a master's degree. A doctoral degree and a professional degree. These are kind of what we call postgraduate degrees. They are beyond master's and they are considered terminal degrees, meaning you really can't go beyond that. That is the end of the road for education, if you will, although there's people that get 2 doctorate degrees or 2 professional degrees, you can do that. And again, this would be an additional 4 or 5 years after your master's degree. So you can be in school a long time if you choose. However, if you're like me and you think learning is fun, it doesn't seem so hard. All right, choosing a major. So a major or a college major is really a collection or a group of courses that are organized around a specific theme. For instance, as far as a major, you can choose computer sciences, you can choose health sciences, you can choose psychology. So there are many different majors, and then under that major, you're going to find a bunch of different classes that are associated with psychology if you're interested in psychology. So consider what's important to you. This is how we're going to choose your major. What's important to you, right? And then consider the time frame for qualification. So if you say to yourself, I love helping people, I want to be a doctor. That's wonderful. Understand that to get that MD or to get that doctorate degree in medicine, you will need to commit many years of your life. It requires, going to med school after getting your undergraduate degree. Then it requires a residency, an internship where you are a doctor, but you have to do so many years of hands-on work before you can really be on your own. So consider, okay, do I want to put in the work for the job I really want to do? Right? These are choices you have to make. Choose your courses. So there's a difference. I want to make sure you understand this because many of you are thinking of future, and I want to make sure you understand the difference between general education and elective courses. So when we start college, whether it's community college, a 2-year college, or it's a state or a 4-year college, either one of those, they both require what we call general education courses. This is a list of classes that all of us kind of have to do if we're going to get a degree. It's going to be some math, some English. They're going to have a category that will say we want you to do a science class, and they're going to list maybe 12 different classes you can pick from. So you can pick from any of those classes to get to get your science qualification. It's not the funnest because these are classes that you're required to take. For instance, I remember when I was in, getting my degree, I had to take geology, which is the study of rocks. I really didn't care about rocks. I didn't. But, I got through it. It was interesting, actually. I, connected with the instructor, and it was interesting. And I did it because it was one of the required classes, and I wanted a degree. And so that's the trade-off I made. I want a degree. I'm going to take the classes that are required. Right? Required within your major is a little bit different. Now we get to more fun classes. So first of all, we do our general education. Then we get to, as we get to be further along in our education, we get to the required courses. So if I want to be a psychologist, let's say, some of my required courses will be probably intro to psychology. That's probably a required class to get a psychology degree. I will have to take it, but they're fun because these are ones you've chosen to be along with your major. Electives are different because electives are things you can just pick any old time. So let's say you're interested in culinary arts or cooking. We have culinary arts at our school at Delta College. So you could take a class on culinary arts or a class on, anything. Psychology I think is really interesting if you just want to understand yourself more. Or I have a lot of students who take my nutrition class just because they want to learn about nutrition, right? So you can take electives because you're interested in them. My advice to students that are just starting out in college is to try to mix up your general education with some electives. And the reason is because when I see students start off their college experience and their counselor tells them, oh, well, you need to take these math classes and science classes and writing classes and reading classes and all this kind of stuff, what happens is that first semester you have a heavy load of courses that aren't interesting to you. You may not yet be acclimated to the difficulty or the academic rigor of college life, of classes, with all the work they require. And so I would be worried about you kind of dropping out or not doing well. And I want you to succeed. So to succeed, I recommend that you take those general eds, that you throw in 1 or maybe 2 if you can, elective classes that are interesting to you so that you enjoy the process, right? So keep that in mind. Right, so meeting, again, with your academic advisor or counselor, all colleges have this. So you want to investigate, how does your college do that? For here at Delta College, we have a system where you basically go online and you can schedule an appointment with an academic advisor, and you will go in and visit them, and then you will come back again at a certain time, right? So you want to schedule that appointment at least once each semester or term. So at least once a semester. They'll help you make sure you're on track. Are you taking they're going to assess your progress toward your goals, right? Are you taking the classes that I said I printed out for you that you should be taking? If you fail any classes, and we need to figure out maybe how to retake that class, right? Because you want to take care of things like that. Refine have you started to figure out, oh, I knew I wanted health sciences, but now I know I actually want to do something along the lines of counseling or mental health, right? That's more interesting for me. So we can refine your career goals. Ultimately, however, you are responsible for your academic plan, not your advisor. For instance, if you told your advisor when you first saw them that you're interested in health sciences, and then as you go meet with them every semester, you never change that and say, you know what, I've decided that I actually like psychology. Well, the fact that you've been taking the wrong classes maybe, or taking some classes you really don't need, that's on you now, because you need to share that information. So ultimately, your academic plan is yours. Okay? So investigating career options can conduct online research. I always tell people, we have the power of Google. You have the power of the internet. And that system is just amazing at looking up whatever you want. So spend time. When students come to me and they say things like, you know, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go, I will say to them, have you put the time in? Have you gone online to do online searches where you're making notes and you're writing down websites, and I should go back to this website later, and because you could spend hours searching, and I want you to do that, okay? And then investigate your career options by, number one, getting experience. That could be through an internship, it could be through a job. And then number two, talking to experts. Again, it could be through just calling people and asking for some of their time, or going somewhere and asking, you know, somebody if they have 5 minutes to have coffee with you, or treat them to coffee so that they'll share some of their ideas with you. Okay, we talked a little bit before about the ONET. So the ONET, again, is a place that you can go and you can get information about jobs. You can find out how much do those jobs make, how much education is required for the job, right? And then which jobs are up and coming, which jobs are going to be around or popular. And this is kind of an example of what it looks like. Talking with experts, I really like this idea. So meet with a career counselor. So at Delta College, we have a career center, and I encourage my students every semester to go visit or call them. And the reason is because it's free. As a student, you have free access to professionals. And so you can go over there. They have everything. They have different tests on finding out more about your personality and what jobs you like. They have catalogs and books on different careers and what colleges offer the major for those careers. How much do they make? How much education do you have to have? That's all available to you. They also have a job board with jobs available, right? Conduct informational interviews. I really like this one too. I'm doing this right now with my daughter. My youngest is 13, and for part of her school project, she has to interview somebody in the field that she wants to work in. And so she wants to be an environmental engineer. She's always known this is what she wants to do. And so I just picked up the phone. I looked for a company or an organization that did environmental engineering here in my area. I picked up the phone and I called. And I said, I got the receptionist, and I just kind of introduced myself and said, I have a daughter who wants to do this career. Would there anybody who would be willing to just give us maybe 30 minutes of time? We can come down and meet them at their place of work, and we have some interview questions, and she would just ask for questions and learn from their knowledge. And they were happy to do that. My first phone call, I have someone booked for that interview, right? So I really think people are willing if you reach out and show your passion and your desire. And then, you know, I always make it a point to bring a little thank you gift when we do these type of interviews, whether it's a little tiny cake or it's a little, you know, get $10 gift card somewhere, but be thankful because it is their time and they're doing a benefit for you. Okay, so again, here's some kind of questions to ask in an informational interview. One of your options for life management is to do an interview for extra credit. And so you'll find similar questions along that assignment, but you know, you want to find out, what does a typical day look like? What do you do? Because my idea of what you do and what you actually do might be different. So many people don't realize, I work with a lot of nurses. When I was in college, I worked at Stanford Hospital in the nursing department. And so I always tell students, a lot of you want to be nurses, but I don't think you understand that nurses spend a lot of time on the computer because they're charting. They spend a lot of time not in direct patient care, but actually, you know, charting. What drugs did we give? How much of the drugs did we get? Nurses have to learn to work with doctors. Doctors' personalities, doctors' handwriting. Doctors can sometimes be abrupt and curt and not kind in some ways when they are yelling out orders, and you need to be able to take that. You can't talk back. And so you need to understand that's part of the job. You're going to be on your feet 12 hours a day at least. So are those things that you want? That would be a typical day. What does it look like? Right? So here's again some really good type of questions to ask. All right, so again, some other ways to get, experience or find out more about a career: service learning. So service learning pairs a practical service experience with formal classrooms. So a lot of our courses in college might have service learning where part of the class is to do that, right? Co-ops, alternating periods of some people go and do, like they have a class and then they actually go out in the field and they put what they learned into practice, right? Internships are pretty common. So internship are a formal program to provide practical experience for beginners in an occupational profession. So I had internships, or I do internships for my students at Sac State. So I have students at Sacramento State that are in their last year of a bachelor's degree. And for my class, what they do is we meet I think we meet once a month. We meet once a month for class time together. The rest of the class hours, they're actually working at a facility. And my job as a professor is to go and visit all of the different facilities they work at and see how it's going. They have to write about their experience. So they're giving volunteer hours. So internships are usually not paid. Some are. Right? They're not paid for their time. They are getting hands-on experience, though, that you can't get, another way other than working there. And so it helps them to determine, do I really like this job? Or maybe I don't. And that's good knowledge too, right? And then just working, again, just doing jobs is how you're going to find out whether you like certain careers. And this here are some examples of some milestones in planning, transitioning, exploring, and planning, and then completing your program for another transition, such as if you're going to go to a four-year college or do something else, right? So you can look through these on your own time. And more about your years in college. So year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. So what are the things that I would be expecting to have happen during my first year of college, my second year, my third year, and my fourth year? And again, right now, you can go and do year 1 and year 2 at a community college or a 2-year college, and then you could transfer for year 3 and 4 to a 4-year, or again, if you only need a 2-year degree for what you want to do. All right, even while we're working in our job, it doesn't mean that our learning stops, that our planning stops, not at all. So career planning doesn't end once we have a job, because it's a job, but maybe you have plans to go places. For instance, even if you're working at the job of or the company of your dreams, do you want to be higher up in the company of your dreams? Right? Do you aspire to supervisor, to manager, to regional director? Do you have those goals in you, or do you have other goals? Are you, I have many students in my classes that work full-time jobs, and they come to my class at night because they have a future goal. Right? They're in a job, but they're still identifying. So identifying and seizing opportunities. So mastering new skills. I was always the kind of person that whatever job I had, I wanted to know what other people did in the company, and I wanted to learn from that. So, I wasn't really big into billing, but I would go to accounting and just kind of see, how did it work? How does it function here? How do we get the purchase orders in? How do we get the payments to our vendors out? Because that taught me how to run a business, really. That helped explain some of those things. So gaining new skills is wonderful. Volunteer at your company to learn something on your own time, even, because again, you can't, it's going to benefit you learning new skills. So as you go through your job, maybe you're going to change your academic goals, and you realize, well, maybe this job wasn't what I thought. It's not right for me. I'm going to look this way, right? So refining and using these skills to make work-related decisions for the future. So all of this really kind of is coming to this place of showing you that we want to make some clear connections between what we like, our values, our interests, our goals, want to align with our career. And again, your career right now, or your job right now, I should say, is not necessarily your career. So if you go on to work at a fast food restaurant or to work in retail or something like that, we all have to get jobs. right? That's just what we do. Let me see, my first job, I used to work in a childcare center. I hated kids. Hated kids, drove me crazy, right? I was 15, 16, and I was working with kids all day, and I just did it because I wanted money. That's why I did it, right? My next job as a senior in high school, I was a receptionist for a tile company. I had no interest in tile, no interest in really being an office worker, but it didn't matter. It was my paycheck. It was my job that was going to help me, just get the things I wanted to get, say for college, and then go on, right? So your jobs today are not necessarily your career choices for tomorrow. They're the stepping stone on the way. All right, guys, we will see you then for chapter number 14.